Thinking about taking court action in India? Action may not be the word. 50 million cases are stagnant across the justice system. A book just published, Court on Trial, is damning of the huge backlog. It says the average case in the Supreme Court can take 13 and a half years to make it all the way through. Proceedings in the top court can account for about a third of that time. Here are some choice quotes from the book. It is often said of the Supreme Court in India that it is the most powerful in the world. The court exercises authority over 1 billion plus people. Yet, despite its great authority and power, the court is in crisis. And let's speak to one of the authors of the book, Aparna Chandra. She's a constitutional lawyer and associate professor at the National Law School of India University in Bengaluru. Give us a sense of what you call a crisis in your book.
First, thanks for having me, Ben, and discussing our book. The crisis that we're describing in our book is an institutional crisis. It's a crisis of the institutional processes and procedures of the court, which are working at cross purposes with the best impulses of the court. So, for example, the court wants to be an accessible court that provides timely justice on the basis of legal rules and principles, but because of its admissions policy, it is crowding out the most vulnerable people. It is because it gives so much power and privilege to the most expensive lawyers, it is not being able to provide accessible justice because it takes so much time in deciding cases. It is not able to provide timely justice, and because it concentrates so much power in the hands of the Chief Justice, it is open to capture.
So what, it's a case of people not being able to afford to wait that long for a case to be decided, or that they just give up after a while?
It's both. People who can't wait for their case to be decided, and it takes about 13 years on average for a case to reach conclusion at the Supreme Court after it's gone through the various levels of the Indian judiciary. The people who have who are the most vulnerable and the most resource poor are the ones who are not likely to be able to wait that long to get relief from the courts, and the ones who are likely then to get crowded out. But also, more importantly, what the court has set itself up as is a final court of appeal, and it takes in any and every matter and decides it as if it was the first court. And what happens as a result is that the matters don't rest at the lower courts, which are more accessible to the common person. And that's another reason why the legal system has become so expensive, and it's crowding out the people who need access to legal justice the most.
And what the system as a whole then needs to change, not only how the court functions, but also the role of the Chief Justice, for example.
Yes, indeed. One problem with the way the court functions is that it's shrouded in mystery, and its administrative processes, this is something that we demonstrate in the book, its administrative processes are ending up influencing its judicial outcomes. So one of the chapters that we have in the book talks about the Chief Justice's power to assign cases to judges, and how the Chief Justice has been using that power, not just in individual cases, but across the board, to assign cases to benches, constitute benches in a way that favors the outcomes that the Chief Justice prefers. And that's an amazing kind of power to assign to one person and one individual. And the court has absolutely resisted having any kind of transparency or any kind of system to curtail the power of the Chief Justice in this respect.
So, Aparna, just briefly, who is going to change the system?
That's the big question. If I knew the answer to that, they'd probably be giving me some prize for this book. But what we have done is in this book, what we've done is we've looked at small steps and incremental steps, easy steps that can be taken to start changing the culture around the courts and the conversation around the courts. Mm-hmm. The idea that courts are not accountable to the people, because if they're accountable, then their judicial independence will be lost, is something that we challenge, and we give measures measures for, small incremental institutional accountability mechanisms, so that at least the courts are accountable and they start thinking about the consequences of the way in which they're doing business.
Okay, little steps that need to be made quite quickly for a big problem in India. Aparna Chandra, co-author of Court on Trial. Thank you for your time.